So maybe getting shulker boxes last episode wasn't a good idea, because it seems like the more I have, the more this happens. Yeah, I'm not cleaning that up anytime soon. Welcome to episode 8 of my Let's Play series, where in the last episode I spent most of my time draining this whole area, which was fun, but then I also did a little bit of work decorating it as well. And in this episode I'll hopefully be finishing up this entire project, starting by filling in all these stone parts. And I think I want to fill these outer ones with the layered glass fog effect, which if you haven't seen before is created by placing about 7 or 8 layers of stained glass on top of a light source, and then from above it kinda looks like fog, which is probably my favorite thing you can do with glass. So I guess I better start mining these things out. Yeah, that's about as much as I want to do without a beacon. So let's just set one up real quick. And now I can dig this all out. There, I now have all 4 holes completely dug out, so now I just need to fill them all back up again. If you look through our little fog example over here, you'll notice that you can still see all the stone and stuff through it, which looks pretty ugly, so the next thing I want to do is add a layer of cyan concrete around the outside. I have all the concrete powder placed in now, so now I get to do the satisfying part of converting it all into concrete. Nice. Then all that's left is the glass. And luckily I still have plenty left over from doing all the sides, so I don't have to worry about getting any more. I do, however, have to figure out where I put my dye. There we go. Of course it's in the last one I check. Now that I have all the glass, let's fill these things up. It's such an easy effect to make, and I think it just looks really cool. Anyway, let's get on to the bigger parts. This circle is going to be where I'm building the storage system for the Guardian farm, so rather than digging it out like I did over here, I'm going to be building on top of it, so I'll just leave that for now and work on these outer parts. Which do need to be mined out, and drained apparently. Even though I'm going to be building a big structure in the middle, all the storage will actually be underground, so these 4 outer areas will be staircases leading down into it. That's the first staircase dug out, now I just need to do the same thing to the other 3. Now that all those are dug out, I can make them look a little bit less terrible. Starting by replacing the floor with cyan terracotta to match the area above. And then I'll just add a few lines of grey concrete powder to make it look a little bit more interesting. Because there's not really any slabs or stairs that match these colors, I'm left with just going up full blocks, which isn't the nicest thing ever. So I'm just going to use the same trick I used all the way back in episode 1, where you just place a line of fences or walls and cover them in carpets. Which creates the exact same effect as having slabs there, making the walk up a whole lot smoother. Anyway, let's do the walls now. So I started by splitting this wall into a bunch of sections that I'll fill with 2 alternating patterns. The first pattern is just a mix of prismarine and prismarine bricks, like this. And the second one I just want to fill with some water. And then I'll eventually replace all the stone behind the water with some dark prismarine, but you get surprisingly little of it from mining down a monument, so I'll just have to wait till my farm's going. And then I'll just copy these 2 across the whole wall. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Now I just need to do the same thing to the other staircases. I have no idea why I was using fences for the first staircase, when I literally have more stone than I'll ever need. The other nice thing about doing the stairs this way is it's really easy just to throw a few lights underneath them. Which is probably a good idea, because this place can get pretty deadly at nighttime. Now that I have all those finished, the floor is complete. Which means I can now start decorating all the walls. And the main block type I want to use to do that is deep slate, but all I have is the regular deep slate rather than the cobble version, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of mining. And the fastest way to get a bunch of it is probably just going to be to use a little bit of TNT. That should be plenty. It looks like I even uncovered some diamonds, so that's a nice little bonus. Just from this, I got about a shulker box of cobble deep slate, so that should be enough to get started. Since there were so many comments talking about how unsatisfying this part of the waves is, why don't I start by covering it up? Well, that's unfortunate. I probably should have covered that concrete powder or something. Yeah. I obviously still need to add all the deep slate, but I'm going to be building a big pillar like this at each of the 4 corners of the circle. Because as you know, circles have corners. And having those there will divide this big glass wall into 4 smaller sections, making it a lot easier to decorate. I haven't used much deep slate for building, but I'm pretty sure you could make a gradient out of all the different types. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I think I'll just add a few stairs to smooth the tops and bottoms out a bit. There's the first one finished, so now I just need to copy it, then paste it over there. And then I can start filling in the rest. And here I'll be adding a bunch more deep slate pillars and lines and whatnot, but the main thing I want to do is build a giant guardian head in the middle. In order to make it look exactly like a guardian, I'm once again using all the deep slate variants and trying to match the guardian's pixels as closely as possible. One of the chunks over here is a slime chunk, and these slimes are honestly probably even more annoying than the drowns are when I'm trying to build. But with the amount I've killed, at least I'll never have to make a slime farm. Anyway, for the guardian's eye I want to use a mix of cobblestone and regular stone, just so it's a little bit lighter than the rest of it. And then from there, all that's left is a little outline and then it spikes. But I feel like none of the deep slate blocks are dark enough for that, so I'm just going to head off to the nether and grab some Blackstone. Even though they're basically just a bunch of 2 wide staircases sticking out of its head, it was probably the hardest part of the guardian to get right. Oh, so I'm really glad I made this place have a 2-block center, or else that would have looked absolutely terrible. Now all that's left is adding a few more lines and then copying it over 3 times like I've done with everything else this video, so why don't I just do that quick in a time lapse. Well, that was a lot more tedious than I thought it'd be. But now that all the walls are decorated, this place is starting to look pretty cool. I almost just want to turn it into my mega base. But I really need a guardian farm, so I'm definitely not doing that. Now that I've decorated pretty much every part of this entire area, I think it's about time I finally start to get to work on the actual farm. In the Bedrock edition of the game, there's 25 spots around the monument where guardians can spawn, so the first thing I need to do is figure out where all those are. So to do that, I'll head to the northwest corner of this area, which is right here, and then build out a couple of blocks, and I believe the first spawn location is right here. And then from here, it's basically just a bunch of counting, which isn't all that interesting, so I'll just skip to the end. And that should be the last one. Unless I get a bit lazy while editing this, and up on screen you'll see where all 25 spawn locations are, just in case you want to use it as reference, although I wouldn't recommend copying me if you want your farm to work. Anyway, I can now get rid of all the andesite, as that was just used for counting. Most of this farm is going to be built out of Blackstone, but before I go to the nether to get more of that, I want to upgrade my sword, because right now it has Bane of Arthropods, which as you know is absolutely terrible. Like, it's not even strong enough to one-hit kill a trader, which makes it basically useless. We have a little shopping area on this world, so hopefully I can get all the enchantments I need from here. There's sharpness, that's the main thing I need. I was able to get all the books I needed, so I think that's everything I need to buy. Well, I mean, while I'm here, I might as well pick up a little bit more iron, and maybe a few emeralds. Impulsive buying aside, let's get all the enchantments grinded off this thing, and then enchant it with some new ones. Yeah, I figured that would happen. I'm really looking forward to having the Guardian farm. There, now my sword is completely maxed out. Well, except for knockback, but I don't really like that anyway. With my new sword in hand, let's go get some Blackstone. Earlier when I got the Blackstone for my Guardian heads, I just came into my ancient debris mines and mined a few of these Blackstone patches, which is good for getting a few stacks quickly, but I need a few boxes, so this is probably not the best way to do it. So instead what I want to do is find a basalt delta, but I haven't actually seen one on this world, so it's probably going to be pretty far away. Or I just haven't done much exploring, that took like 30 seconds. Not gonna lie, I kinda forgot how terrible these biomes are. And I've definitely dealt with enough slimes today, so let's go on to plan B. A bastion. These things are literally just a block of Blackstone, so it's probably going to be the easiest way. If I'm not mistaken, this is a treasure room bastion, which means it can have some pretty good stuff, so I might as well just quickly raid it first. I just have to be careful around the piglin brutes, because even in full netherite armor, they could kill me pretty easily. Here's our first chest, let's see if we can get anything good. I'll take a few bone blocks. If there is anything good, it's gonna be in that chest there, so let's head down. As much as it pains me to do this, I really don't want to be dealing with these magma cubes. Anyway, let's open this thing. Perfect, that's exactly what I was hoping for. I'm still hoping to find a pig step disc, but it's only like a 3% chance, so that's probably not gonna happen. Anyway, I could probably get enough Blackstone from just mining down this one pillar, but like any unsensible person would say, let's mine down the whole thing. I should probably stop doing stuff like this. From the bastion, I ended up getting just under 30 boxes completely full of Blackstone, so that should be plenty. But the thing that surprised me most is from this entire bastion I only got just over a stack of gilded Blackstone, and probably about a quarter of that was from chests. Anyway, let's start heading back to our portal. Not surprised to see you here. And now that we're back from an unnecessarily long trip to the nether, we can get back to work on the Guardian farm. Well, after I expand my shulker monster a bit. Yeah, this is starting to get pretty bad. And this farm's gonna be different than any Guardian farm you've seen before. Not better or anything, probably worse actually, but it will look cool, so that's all that matters. As I mentioned earlier, this middle spot's gonna be where the storage system is, as well as the AFK spot. And then in each of the corners, I'll be building a bunch of different size rings that kind of funnel all 4 of these spawn locations down into one spot. It's kinda hard to explain, so I'll just start building it. Just a few blocks underneath this prismarine that I placed earlier is where the Guardians will actually be spawning, which I have marked out with this chiseled Blackstone block. And then I just connected those 4 points with some Blackstone. Obviously, this little circle is not going to be keeping the Guardians in, so now I'm just building a wall. And then I'll also just add a layer of slabs, just because the Guardians can occasionally get over these walls. That's the shape of the first one pretty much done, so now I can start adding in the water. Well, at least after I place some signs to stop this from happening. And I chose to use the warp ones, just because they're the closest color of sign to the prismarine. Well, that was tedious. But now all the water's placed in, except for on the actual spawning spots, because I'm not quite ready for the Guardians to be spawning yet. That's the first one pretty much done. I do, however, think it'd look better if we added some trapdoors. Yeah, that looks better. Now on the second ring, I once again built this little circle of Blackstone, just like I did for the first one. However, this one's a little bit smaller, so that all the Guardians will slowly get pushed down into the middle. And then from here, it's just a matter of adding in all the walls, signs, and water. And there's the second one done. As you can probably imagine, the third one's not going to be a whole lot different, so let's just build that one up quick. When the guardians are falling in between layers, a few of them somehow manage to fall out the side, so all I need to do to fix that is just to add a layer of glass around the top. Which I'm glad I had to do, because it makes it look so much better. You may have noticed that this video has been a lot less laggy than some of my previous ones, and that's actually because in between episodes I've gone ahead and built myself a new computer, which is also why this video took so long to come out. So if my videos are still laggy after this, then I just give up. Anyway, that's the first part of the Guardian farm complete, so now I just need to copy it over 3 times and then start the building in the middle. And to me, that sounds like a good thing to do in a time-lapse. Just when you thought my storage platform couldn't get any worse. Yeah. As you can see, the build in the middle is basically just a bigger version of these outer ones, where it's just a bunch of rings stacked on top of each other. But it's still not done yet, as I still need to mirror this bottom part up to the top, so let's do that now. And with that in place, that's pretty much all the building done for this entire project. If I head over to my creative test world, you can see that there's originally going to be an additional building on each side that would make use of 2 more spawning spots. But the problem with this is because it's such a long water stream, it takes the Guardians a really long time to get through it all. But even when they do, there's this weird bug where the Guardians kind of just start flying. So I decided to just cut this part out. And I'm glad I did, as it allowed me to move the AFK spot to a much cooler place, which is in the center of this tower here. Through the corners of this area, you're able to easily see all 4 parts of the farm. And then the sides frame the Guardian heads almost perfectly, which I think looks pretty cool. Anyway, I'd say it's about time we make this farm actually work. So I'll start by just digging a little hole underneath where the Guardians will fall out from here, and then make it look just a little bit less ugly with some cyan concrete. Then to finish it off, I'll build the actual killer inside this perfectly centered hole. This is a design by Silent Whisper, and basically how it works is the Guardians will fall down into this chamber, get stuck in the minecarts, and then just get absolutely destroyed by these tridents. Just for demonstration purposes. And if you want someone smart to explain how this all works, the link to that video will be in the description box down below. And if I somehow forget to do that, you know what to do. Anyway, once that system's finished with the Guardians, all the items will make their way into the storage system, which currently doesn't exist. So let's build that up real quick. There we go. This is the first time I've ever actually used tinted glass for building, and I think it looks really cool with the sea lanterns behind it. I'll eventually be filling up all these corners with water, and that's what I'll use to carry all the XP up to my AFK spot. And down here is where all my storage is. 3 of the 4 sections down here are just storage for all the various items, but behind this one is where I want to build the actual sorting system, just so I don't have to worry about putting any redstone behind the chests. So to make this sorting system, I'll start by just digging this area out a bit, place in some Blackstone, some comparators, a few lines of redstone, and a bit of ice. It's definitely a lot bigger than it needs to be, but it should work. As of now, I don't really have any Guardian drops, so I won't be able to set up any of the filters or anything, but as soon as I get the farm going, it should only take a few minutes. Also, I forgot to do this earlier, but just to make traveling here a little bit easier, I'm going to turn all the entrances into portals. Which also makes this area look pretty cool. Now all that's left to do is to dig a few underground tunnels so that all the items actually come here. Which I'll do off camera, because that's not even a little bit interesting. Alright, that's all done, which means all the items will now come to the sorting system. I also added this little switch that when turned on will activate all 4 of the trident killers, essentially turning the farm on and off. And with all that done, I'm finally ready to turn on the farm. So I'll quickly just place in all the water so that the guardians can actually spawn. And then head over to the AFK spot. And here they come. It looks like they're all making it down to the correct spot, which means this farm's actually working. Yeah, this is definitely a lot cooler to watch than a regular guardian farm. Oh, so while I was digging all the item transportation tunnels, I also made this little system down here that pushes all the XP into this little pool and then brings it up to my AFK spot, which is a little bit overcomplicated, but what about this farm isn't? But yeah, my guardian farm is now 100% complete, which means next episode I can finally start working on my base. But that's going to be it for me today, so thanks for watching and see you all in the next episode.